if we did not have a quorum tonight, how do we go about spending money? Because we need to reinstate our cell phone. It's on a yearly contract that's due in August.
Well, so I pressed record. I think you can see on your screen. So we are recording now so the other members can see this and catch up later. You cannot spend money without a quorum. The group has to decide as a committee that you want to spend the money and re-up the cell phone. Is there any urgency with that? Is anybody using it where there's not programming going on right now? Like, so if you were to lapse and not, pay for it until November, would, is there any problem with that, or is there any downfall with that if we did that?
I think we lose the phone number. Isn't that correct, Celia? So I think we wanted to keep the yearly membership up just to keep the phone number consistent from year to year. Okay.
So the other thing you can do is, why don't we talk about a next meeting date, and based on what you all know about what others may or may not be able to do. So all I can say about Paul is what's on the public calendar that he may be attending. But so to your point, Celia, the only thing you can do about spending money is try to get another meeting soon that other people might be able to attend so that you'll get a quorum.
Okay.
So I don't know what's up with Paul that he missed this, but I would hope that and think that he could attend something soon. That should be fine. So we need 24 hours to notice something. So that puts us into next week. I
mean,
are we all working regular hours, or can we meet during the day in some spot?
Well, Paul works during the day. So if you can get Michael or Lori, then you don't need Paul. It would be nice to include him because he's the ex officio. It would be better to not, it would be better to do a meeting so that you could try to accommodate him. But if you feel as though you don't have time, the calendar, that's not workable, then, you can certainly try to rearrange.
I wonder if we could do something, I wonder if we could do something for like this Sunday. Is anybody away? Like, I have softball this weekend, and then I'm leaving Tuesday morning for a little road trip with my family. So like, I'm going to be gone for a week also. So that's kind of bad timing for that. But if I'm the only one not there, then that's okay too. But
I won't be around Sunday, but I'll be around Monday.
So here, all right, whereas typically under normal circumstances, we can have 2 different meeting rooms and we can meet in more than one place. I cannot attend 2 different, so Monday's a select board meeting. So you're not going to get Paul, but you're also not going to get me. But that doesn't start until 6:30. So if you start your meeting at 6, then I can be here long enough to let you all into the meeting and press record, and you can be on your own, but you've got to know that you don't get Paul either. So that's not, it's possible if you need to, but it's not optimal.
And to David's question, I have no problem meeting during the day as long as I have advance notice.
Yeah, I can meet during the day too, as long as my schedule allows for it. But like I said, I'm leaving on Tuesday, so that might be harder to do.
Well, in theory, you could do it Monday during the day if that works for Lori. You need Lori because you're not going to get Paul. I don't know if you're going to, given what's going on with Mike, let's assume that you're not going to get Mike. I don't know, but so you need Lori because you're not going to get Paul. So the 3 of you could meet with Lori and make some decisions. The budget's kind of big, so it would be better if you can do better than quorum for the budget, for passing the budget onto the select board. But again, time is also of the essence. So
let me ask you, Caroline. So this August 12th date. We didn't do that this last year at this time. So has that been moved up? And because if you look at our traditional ending of Camp Raleigh, we would only be ending. So there's no way we can get numbers in from the summer for this early in August. So is this kind of this year, or is this going to change? Or
August 12th was the deadline for all department heads to submit their budgets last year. For whatever reason, that message either didn't get to you, or else you got some kind of extension because of what you just said about Camp Raleigh. Okay. But I don't know that you're always going to be allowed that extension. I think, because we're SB2 now and the timeline is moved up from what it once was, I think it would be prudent to plan on budgeting before you have final numbers for Camp Raleigh in going forward. You're not going to have the luxury of having that all nailed down and buckled up before you're into the next budget planning season. So and that's not awesome.
No, it's not. So how do you figure if you need what you need to play with?
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't know what to say about that. You can ask the select board if they can bend that date slightly and hear budget presentations from all the other department heads before they come to you, and you might be able to get another week or two out of it, but you're not going to be, into well into September, October to present your budget. You really still need to be kind of close to that date. So, just like the school has to budget a year and a half in advance or something like that, we're all going to be in that position to some extent. You're not going to have the best number, best figures. You can only just get a sense by getting reports from the office about the money that's been spent so far, and whether or not that includes the last bus for the field trip, or whether or not there are 3 buses outstanding with that, or you're going to kind of have to run your own running total based on what is in the accounting system and what has happened that we haven't been billed for, and try to project out that way. But it's not going to be perfect.
Mm. And then, so the August 12th is that just submitting online of our, what Celia has plugged into that?
So what Celia emailed, when this group finalizes that, email it to me and say it's your final copy. What would be helpful is if you could provide some kind of narrative that briefly explains how it's the same or different from before, what you're trying to accomplish that maybe they don't know, so that they can start to wrap their head around what you're trying to accomplish. What's your goal? What are you doing with this budget? And then, so that will, email that to me by the 12th. And then I'm sending them all, I'm actually putting them all in a drive folder for the board so that they can access them when they come in. But I'm also compiling those numbers into one big master spreadsheet for the board, the big proposed budget by department heads. And then they'll have to start having departments come present to the board to talk about the budget that they are proposing and sort of explain their narrative about why they're presenting what they're presenting. And then the board will start having their workshops and tweak the numbers that were presented to them.
Okay, and then that wouldn't happen till September though, right? Or most likely the actual presentation, or?
It could happen at any time after the 12th. They've not made their budget workshop schedule yet, though I will tell you that the budget committee has finalized its presentation schedule. So that is mostly on the public calendar now. If you want to go see it, it will tell you budget committee, police, budget committee, fire, so you can, if you want to go look and you can see, you should be plugged in there. And if you don't see your department plugged in there, then let me know and I'll see if it just isn't listed or if you can't see it or if you're really not on the list, and we'll fix that. So at any time, really, they could call for department heads to come and present. But that being said, they can start with all the major departments. And like I said, give you a little grace of, a couple of weeks while they're hearing from other departments. But I think you ought to make that formal request if you anticipate needing that rather than just missing the deadline and assuming that's going to be okay.
Okay.
So I have a couple questions. Since we're having a workshop instead of a meeting, does the COVID-19 statement need to be read into the record?
It's not, no, it doesn't. Good question, because it's not an official meeting because you don't have a quorum, so you can't take any actions. So, and our chairperson isn't here, and it would be the chairperson who would read it. So no, we're just discussing things, and this is not an official meeting.
Okay.
So he had sent that to me, Caroline, just
A question.
to read.
Well, all right, then if you,
Oh.
pardon me, hold on.
I thought that was your dog, Kelly.
No, my dog's sitting right next to me. She's a good girl. He just comes in. My dog just hanging out next to me.
It's all
I got
good
that.
until a dog walks by. So Kelly, why don't you go ahead and read that and do roll call vote? But, just note that while it says votes are roll call, there won't be a vote outside of taking attendance,
Oh, so do you want me to go ahead and do that? Yeah.
It's not a bad idea just to cross the T's and dot the I's.
Yeah. Okay. So it says, as chair of the rec committee. Now, should I say vice chair or what am I?
Yes.
Vice chair of the Recreation Committee, due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis, in accordance with Governor Sununu's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing the Google Meets platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the Google Meets platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-920-605-5263 with PIN number 328-097-006 #, or by clicking on the following website address: meet.google.com/wib-wsvu-whh. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using Google Meets, and instructions are provided on the town website at rollinsford.nh.us. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please call 534-1049 or email at admin@rollinsford.nh.us. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Is this part of it? Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote.
Yes.
Okay. And so we're going to start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, also please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know blah. Do I say Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. No one is with me in the room.
Okay, call your other members' names.
Okay, Celia.
I am here and no one is home with me at the moment.
David. Oh, can't hear you, David.
I'm here, and there's people walking up and down the street, so I don't know who they are. But nobody's in a van with me, so
Okay. And Caroline, do I call you too?
No, because I'm
I
not.
think my wife will
Thank
steer
you.
them away.
So what do I put for Mike, Lori, and Paul? Do I just mark them absent or
Yeah.
just leave them blank on our list?
Yeah, just absent, or else, just mark who's present and they're not listed, either way. Okay, so, I would be happy to tell the board that you would like an extension if we can agree on date, we could possibly meet. And, so the Thursday, the 13th is the next, no, because you're leaving on Tuesday, the 11th. So you're going to be gone until the 18th, Kelly?
Yes.
Okay, so the 18th is not free.
Okay. Yeah.
So we could meet Wednesday the 19th or Thursday the 20th if you think that might work for others. I don't know. We only have the three of you to ask. I don't know what you know of other schedules.
Is
I
anybody else on vacation?
I'm
I'm
not
available.
traveling, so I'm good anytime.
We're both good.
Okay. Let me just sorry, I'm gonna grab my book here, but the 18th, the 19th or 20th, I think should work for me. So
While she's doing that, does Excel, does the Google spreadsheets mess up the formatting of Excel?
Very good question. So if you create a spreadsheet in Excel and then upload it into the drive and open it with Google Sheets, you're fine. But it is not the same as Excel, and it's not fun to try to create a sheet in Google Sheets. It's much better to use Excel. But no, it seems as though they work fine, and Google changed it so that you can actually maintain its original programming so that you can open an Excel sheet with Excel rather than having to use it with Google Sheets. So it's fine now. Okay, Kelly, does that
the Wednesday the 19th?
Because we weren't allowed to use Google Sheets.
Yeah, and that's okay, David. That'll be fine.
That was so weird. It was like you delayed your talk there, David.
Yeah.
Wednesday works better for me than Thursday. I could probably do Thursday if I had to. I would just have to switch, move some people around. But Wednesday is a better night for me. The 19th.
Okay, so let's try for that and hope we can get Paul on board. That would give you a quorum. If the three of you can do that, and let's hope Paul can, then that will give you a quorum. Hopefully we can at least get Lori too.
I can text Lori right now. Maybe she can.
And do we want to do 6:30?
That's fine with me. I mean, I think that time has been working for others, hasn't it?
Yep.
It is when you've been meeting recently. I didn't want to presume though. Okay.
All right, I'm texting Lori right now. I don't have a cell phone for Mike. I don't know if anybody else does, but
I do not.
Okay.
I do, just not on me.
Okay, so I'm going to send this to Lori. for the 19th, August 19th. So we might not get an answer from her right now, but we'll see. Okay, so Caroline, you said that you were gonna ask the board then if we could hand in our stuff a little bit later.
Yes, I will. Yeah, I'll tell them you're meeting on the 19th, and hopefully that works for Paul. And that means you really need to approve it on the 19th so that they can have it for the 20th.
Right. So I think we're just gonna have to have everybody, make sure that we go through things before that night, maybe. Or
yes, Kelly, I think it would be a good idea if you would send everybody an email and maybe even resend Celia's spreadsheet and remind everybody that we need to get that approved. We're meeting on the 19th, and we absolutely need to approve the budget. And here it is again. Please review it so you're ready to talk about it on the 19th.
Yeah.
That would probably help.
Yeah. Okay. And actually, I think Celia and I were going to meet with Mike at some point in time, right? Celia, we were going to try the three of us to just pretty much go over it with him so he understands.
There were a couple of points in the budget that needed review. And I don't know if we want to talk about them now so we can finalize those numbers, or if we want to hold off.
I know, and Caroline might have. I know there was one question about the money for the director, the part-time director. Was that going on a different? I might have missed your comment, Caroline. I'm sorry, but
it's okay. Celia did ask me something about that. So the select board just allowed the team camp line to turn into the part-time rec director line. So you can certainly propose that there's a new line in the recreation budget, so you have team camp and camp, you had team camp and now you have the part-time rec director and you have Camp Raleigh and there's winter rec and all like that. You can certainly, and senior, if you wanted to propose, if there was a reason for another line, you could certainly propose that, either because you're going to break something up or because there's going to be something new going on. There are different reasons why it might be helpful to change the presentation of the budget. Ultimately, that's the authority of the select board, but you can certainly make that recommendation if there's a reason to. So as it stands right now, the part-time rec director has its own line, which is the line that used to be dedicated to team camp.
So I guess my only concern, and maybe Celia said this too, is that, then that used to be revenue, we used to make that in teen camp. So basically presenting the budget is going to be automatically look like we're in the negative. So is that going to be okay?
Well, I think there's no way to know that it's going to be okay or not. I mean, I think that's a new conversation every year because they haven't really, I don't think they've really fully developed the conversation around the camp director, the part-time director. And, in theory, if the part-time director was allowing us to have an adult volleyball league at the school, and that was a fee to participate in, then those fees are offsetting the cost of the rec director. But where there's no programming, there are no fees to offset anything. So I think that's partly a question of, what are the duties of the rec director, and would any of them be offset with fees? Part of it also is, when is any kind of programming going to restart that we could get any kind of fees from? And that, of course, is completely up in the air. So as it stands right now for the 2020 budget, when the 2020 budget was proposed and approved, we were all recognizing that Teen Camp produced revenue and a rec director probably wouldn't, or not to the extent that tuition and fees from Teen Camp would. So to my mind, going from 20, there's not necessarily a change in having a rec director that's not offset by revenue. I don't see that as a change.
Okay.
But that's really hard to quantify when we haven't really had the conversation about what's all the programming that might have fees to offset it. So there's not clarity there, except I think, there's reason to feel secure in offering status quo in that way.
And one of my questions was, is it its own line so I can break it down, salary, supplies, and stuff like that? Because we talked about different rates of pay for the rec director, and I didn't end up putting anything for salary or supplies or anything. I just kept the bottom line number.
There's no right or wrong answer about that. If you have a bottom line number, it gives you flexibility to figure it out later. Ultimately, the select board is going to figure out what the pay rate is, and they'll be open to your recommendations about that. But, as we've heard before with that conversation, there are other factors they need to consider with that. I think, it's kind of hard to budget supplies when we don't know what the programming is. Like, what really is the job of the part-time director? Are they creating an adult volleyball league, or are they just working on policy for 6 months, and then, maybe by the end of the year they'll start programming, which, won't really have time to generate fees. There's so much about how is this going to work out that hasn't really been discussed and decided upon, that I think it's fine to leave it as just a bottom line number. But I think that's something that you can address in your narrative, that you're keeping that number the same and we're calling it rec director, but we're hoping that there's flexibility with that to accommodate maybe less money for salary, and in order to accommodate some money for supplies, for example. And maybe that that line should be changed to recreation other, and that way it can be more general and pay for salary and supplies. Whereas if you call it rec director, then it's a little hard to ask for supplies out of that line. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we had talked that other communities are paying upwards of $20 an hour. We could not, within the amount slated, do 20 hours for $20 an hour for 12 hours without going over our budget. That was one of the reasons I broke it down.
Well, so I think that's worth discussing when you have a quorum to vote on what you think is reasonable. Like, for 12 hours, well, what does 12 hours accomplish? What are you trying to accomplish? And how well does 12 hours meet that or not? And so, you could pay less and have more hours, or maybe pay less and fewer hours and more supplies, or, but I think it's really hard to, for sure the pay rate has something to do with who are you going to attract for the job, like that, of course, is part of a pay rate, but also whatever the pay rate is, lends itself to what else can you do within that line. But I think it's important to know, like, what's the goal.
And I should clarify that's 12 hours a week. So 12.
Well, but what does 12 hours a week do? Like, what is this person doing that requires 12 hours a week?
Yeah.
And why do we think it takes 12 hours? And I'm that's really hard to figure out. It's new, and maybe particularly with the virus ongoing, maybe it's a good year to budget for fewer hours to work on policy and maybe not a lot of programming, because it might be later in the year before we get to offer any programming. And so it can be a little bit of an in-between year where you can do some of this and some of that with that money. But that would be something to address in the narrative. Like, we're hoping that for this first year, because of what's going on, that it's only 5 hours a week until June. And then, depending on what's going on with the virus, it'll then bump up to 8 hours. And with those hours, we're going to plan on, hoping to accomplish this, that, and the other thing. But we're hoping that this, money will still be available for 2022, so that at that time we'll have 12 hours a week. That's another way to think about it. You don't have to do that, but I think it's fair to assume that 2021 is also not going to be a normal year. But that might be an opportunity to get, to accomplish things different, or to have sort of a transition year with that line somehow. But like I said, I think it's really important to address in your narrative, where are you going? Especially because I would say this any year. But it's important to have like a 3 to 5 year plan. Where do you want recreation going? And how do you get there? And how does this next year's budget help you get there? What does it do for you? But especially because we're in such strange times, I think if you want to do anything kind of weird or sidestep in some way, which will still ultimately help you reach your goal, I think it's important to say that, so that when you're preparing the 2022 budget and you're back on the original track, we have that paper to reference. Oh yeah, that's where they were always going. They just sidestepped to accomplish these other things for that 1 year because of the virus. That's just a way to think about it. It's up to the committee how you present this budget and to decide what you want to try to accomplish and fund.
Okay. So,
I hope that was helpful.
it was, and
it's like a big non-answer.
So, Kelly and I did meet and talk about the budget. And this is a question that for all of you, well, mainly for Caroline, but the fire department had said in the past they paid for the cards and the price went up. So now they're asking us to pay for the cards for our staff. I put $300 in for the cards and training of our staff. Is that a sufficient amount, or should we look at maybe raising that amount?
I have no idea how much the
Can you
cards
get an
are.
update from the,
Say that again, David?
can you get an update from the fire department, what they're gonna charge for the course?
Yes, I think
And
that's
the-
where I
and
would
the
start with
documentation.
that. Yeah, so I can do that. My guess is it's probably sufficient.
Because we generally, Celia, too, I think we, like, even the last year that we did it, we had that number of people that came in with their own certifications. So, we didn't necessarily have to certify everyone either.
And it's also true that if they are already certified, certifications tend to last for 2 years. So you shouldn't be having to pay for everybody every year, where you have a lot of employees who come back year after year. That, for sure you'll always have some people who need to get trained, but hopefully it's not everybody every year. If you're doing CPR and first aid, if you're alternating and this year is CPR and next year is first aid, then you are probably going to be training more people every year. So I guess it's all in how you offer that too, at which I understand is also contingent upon how the fire department can address it too.
Well, let's think back. Do you remember how much the school charged? Because we did the school one year. Was that $25? For some reason, I feel like it's 25, but
I think it was 20 or 25.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if we had 10 people to do it, then that 300 would be enough.
Okay, I do some volunteer work and I had to end up taking another course in this virus. Are we gonna have to have the same thing for our counselors?
That's a really good question.
What did you take it in?
The virus.
For this alleged the virus floating around. I had to take a course. I had to take a course on it for some volunteer work I do for University of New Hampshire.
How many hours was that, David?
It was very short, but I still had to take it.
Did it cost you any money?
It was a freebie.
Oh, well, that's good.
So, I would say let's see. Go ahead, David.
No, I'm sorry. I think I sent the information to you, didn't I, Carolyn?
Yeah, I did see that. So, I believe, well, we'll see what the conditions are, when camp starts, assuming we're having camp in 2021. If, my guess is if we're having camp and the virus is still around in any meaningful way, which likely it is, then probably it is a good idea to have training. I would not put a cost for that because I would believe that cost is probably available through Primex, or else we will find another free way to provide the training. But I think it's worth noting that training is likely to be very important so that we remember to do it.
And we have 2 built-in days right now for the staff for training. Kelly and I talked about they'll have July 5th off because the 4th falls on a Sunday. So give them the following Monday. And we'll use that as a training day. And then we built in 1 extra training day for all of the hourly employees, and the salaried employees would be covered under their regular salary.
Okay, good.
So as long as it's not more than like 8 hours, we should be fine for wages wise.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a big thing. I think it's probably, like a 1 hour webinar kind of thing, or, Primex does really nice short half hour or 1 hour interactive online training things that end in a 10-question quiz kind of thing, or something basic like that. I don't think it needs to be intensive, assuming that Primex offers such a thing. And if they don't, then I'm hoping that we could get police or fire to offer some kind of training. So that's something that we should put on the calendar to talk about in March or April, so that we are looking into it and making sure the training exists, so that we're working on creating it so that we are ready for it when we need it.
So another thing that popped up on the budget that we forgot to talk about was background checks. Will everybody need a background check next year, since it's been a couple of years since they've been employed with us?
If they're over 18, if they're 18 or over, that's probably a good idea.
And I think I budgeted $600.
So by the way, that's something that really should be.
Oh, it's 300.
Maybe some other policy somewhere else that it should have, when you hire an employee, you need a background check unless they're under 18 or unless they've had a recent one done within what time frame. Because we certainly don't want to put people through that and pay for it if they have one because they work at a school and they can provide that. But that should be in writing somewhere so that we're not just making rules up as we go along.
Okay, I am going to be working on the staff manual in the next couple of days or weeks. The camper manual is done and in David and Mike's hands. If anybody else wants a copy of it, I can forward it out for people to look at on the camper side.
You can send that to me, Celia.
Okay.
I was out biking today, so I didn't get the chance to read it.
Mike said we're going to address it at the next meeting anyway, so not to worry.
And there, I don't know what else we need to go. Trying to look and see what Mike had that we could. He did want to talk about like the future dates. I guess Celia said that he's looking at like the second. Is that what you said, Celia? This like to
I
kind
don't know
of.
if it's the second or the third Wednesday of the
It
month.
looks like the third. The third Wednesday of the month is kind of what he was. Oh, no, that doesn't work because October is the second. So, but November was the third. So I don't know.
So are you talking about the next meeting after your meeting on the 19th?
Yeah, it looks like Mike's trying to establish like a monthly meeting that it looks like the third Wednesday of the month, but October doesn't fall in there. So he kind of threw out like the meeting dates of September 16th, October 14th, and November 18th. But
So just so you know, you're fine for a while on Wednesdays, but
is that the budget meeting times?
budget committee starts on October 14th.
Okay.
Is their first one, and then so you're good. If you avoid October 14th, you're good on Wednesdays until November, and then starting in November, there are no Wednesdays in November.
Okay. So maybe we'll just kind of go from
Well,
September.
unless if you know, it would be. So it's not as though we can't do budget committee dates. It just can't start at 6:30 because I can't start two meetings at the same time because of how this meeting platform works. I have to attend all the meetings long enough to open them up and press record and go away, or I can stay depending on the meeting. But so I don't need to be present at all of the recreation meetings or all of the budget committee meetings. It depends on what's going on. So if you pick a time that's not 6:30, either 6 or 7, then I have time to get to budget and start their meeting and come back to recreation and start it, or start you all first or something. So
Okay. So we'll have to chat with Mike about that.
yeah. Otherwise, a different meeting night would be better so that we're, and Thursdays, by the way, are typically free. Tuesdays, the first Tuesday of the month is planning, but if you stay away from the first Tuesdays are free.
I know Mike has select or school board meetings on Thursday, one Thursday night a month.
Right, so you have to steer clear of that one too.
All right.
Kelly, I had a question on your fabulous calendar. I know that Caroline just mentioned something for your calendar a few minutes ago.
Yeah,
But
I got it right here. Tell me.
when I was looking for the phone, I found all the walkie-talkies. So in August through December, we need to check walkie-talkies and buy new for the ones that no longer work.
We should also reach out to the school in December and talk about renewing the movie license.
Yeah, I think we have that.
Okay, and then what I was talking about is talking about COVID training by March.
All right, let me put.
How about batteries for the walkie-talkies?
Yeah, that should be part of the checkup on the walkie-talkies, or getting them in the spring.
I don't know how old the batteries are, but I know in my industrial ones, I was good for about 1.5 to 2 years.
We've had these for a few years, and I don't know how good they are.
Yeah, I think we bought those the first year, so this would have been 4 years old then this year. So Caroline, you're saying like March to discuss COVID training? Actually, I have that. So I have In March, I have confirmed with fire department for a date for CPR first aid certification class. So maybe I should just add something in there that says,
It says COVID training, but instead of reach out to fire department,
I'll just write, how about discuss possible COVID training for, yeah, I mean, we don't have to, okay.
So when Kelly and I were doing the budget, we talked about maybe using some of the funds. I know we talked about this a little bit in the last meeting, using some of the 2020 funds to maybe replace some equipment and pay for our movie license and stuff for next year. So I don't know if that's feasible with the 2020 budget or not.
The money's there. It's just about whether or not the select board feels as though, given what's going on in the big picture, it wants to spend the money in that way. I think it's definitely worth asking if there are, things that you need that, well, the movie license, is there any harm in letting that lapse and not signing up for it again until you're ready to use it? And that way you could save some money? Or is there an advantage to keeping it going?
As far as I know, if you only buy 1 year at a time, you can let it lapse and you can send the check in advance or fill out the form and set your date when it starts. So we could use funds from 2020 or funds from 2021, depending on how we feel to do the form. If we're signing up for multiple years, they give you a discount for like 2 years. They give you like 10% off if you're going to do a 2-year contract with them.
So it might be better to talk to the school I think this needs to be a vote of the committee, but maybe think about not doing it in 2020 since it's not likely to be used, but instead budget for 2021 to have a 2-year license, but to also talk to the school to see if they want to share that half and half so that we are both enjoying a better discount. And maybe, I don't know, that like the PTO, I don't mean the school.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a better way to go. There's no right or wrong answer to it. I just don't know. I mean, you can approach the select board with renewing the license. I don't think that they would do it right now. I mean, I know it doesn't come up due until December. I think they would evaluate that in December, and depending on what's going on with the virus and how likely it is that there will be groups of people watching movies, they may or may not do it. The other thing to consider is if you, if there's a volleyball net or like some other bigger piece of equipment that you wanted for Camp Raleigh that you'd like to really start the season off with next year, and you would like to not have to budget for it, but use this year's budget dollars for it, you could present a purchase order for that and make an argument for it and see how they feel about it. I can't tell you that they would do it. I don't know. I guess it depends on what it is. It depends on how usable it is this year and what's the advantage of buying it now versus budgeting for it next year.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I was just saying, didn't we talk about a ping pong table? I think we talked about a ping pong table.
Ping pong table and a foosball table or something.
Table. Yeah.
So those are both kind of sort of bigger ticket items that are also durable, that would be used year after year, that I guess my question about that is, where is it getting stored when you're not using it?
The shed.
Does the shed keep things? I mean, I guess I'm less concerned about the ping pong table and more concerned about the foosball table and mice getting in there and it getting nasty. And I don't know if that's a concern or not, but is the shed like a nice place for such things?
Didn't we had the roof replaced, didn't we, Celia?
Yep.
Isn't that done? Yeah.
What husband did it?
Yeah. I think it's pretty water
Okay.
tight.
I was in there in December.
Mine, I don't know.
Or in January, whenever Mike started soccer. I just had something on the tip of my tongue and I lost it.
You can also, in theory, use some space in the attic of the town hall if that's nicer space, and it isn't bad space for storage. I guess I would just say, if you're going to propose the purchase of something large like that, that you make sure that you have good storage space for it so that it doesn't get cruddy before you get a chance to use it.
Yeah.
I have stuff I need to get into storage space somewhere that's in my basement that I'd rather not have at my house.
Well, these things shouldn't be
In somebody's personal possession.
really not, because then nobody knows where they are. And, you know, if you get really busy and drop off the committee or move away or, you know, God forbid something more severe happen, it becomes difficult for the committee to have those items. So if all else fails, then arrange with me to have stuff put in the attic, and you can put stuff in the attic.
Yep.
It's also not cool to have something that may be of value, like a foosball table for a few $100s. And then, you know, if your basement gets flooded or, you know, some sewer backup or who knows what kind of catastrophic thing happens, but now town assets are in the middle of your personal crisis, that's not a good idea either. You know, we hope those things never happen, but they really do.
Yes.
Well, could your stuff, Celia, go into the shed, or is that something?
I don't know. I was just organizing it tonight because it was in bags and boxes, and we had discussed picking up storage bins, which we got in December. So I now have 2 storage bins, one of just like camper shirts. A lot of them are teen camp shirts, so that they're not the same color as the Camp Raleigh shirts. And then the other one is like the walkie-talkies, the clipboards, the Camp Raleigh sign, and stuff like that. And then I have a third bin at my house that I'm not sure where it should go, which is all of like the paper goods and canned goods that we purchased for senior coffee hour, things that have long shelf life. And I'm not so sure we want to put that stuff in the attic. So
Right. Yeah, because yeah.
And like the library, we found out last fall had an issue down at the mill. They had a leak.
Right.
So yeah, I have no problem dropping off like the miscellaneous supplies and the t-shirts at the town hall with Caroline.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about the coffee stuff. That shouldn't, I don't know. Where would that go, Caroline? I don't know. That should probably not go anywhere except for waiting for.
Well, you know, I suppose like mice could get into Celia's basement as well as they could the attic or the shed, you know, like whenever you put something that's like food related away for an extended period of time, I think it's prone to having something get into it, you know, kind of no matter where it is. I don't think there's a huge risk of that in the attic, but I wouldn't absolutely say wouldn't happen either, you know? So, you know, that's for you all to decide.
But, I mean, we don't have that much money tied up into, do we want to take the chance of somebody getting sick with something, food we're giving them?
No. And last year we spent 170 out of our $300 allotment.
But I would hope that you could tell pretty easily if it looks like something got into it or not, so that you're not, you should be able to tell that something got into it or not.
Exactly. And some of it's been stored by my front door just because I have a bench there, and when I come in my house, I have a box and I put it in a box right there by my front door. So. Was there anything else, Kelly, we're supposed to cover?
I don't think so. It's just kind of. No, I don't think there's really anything on the agenda that we can really talk about.
My wife is joining me in the van now, so we have another outsider.
Oh
Excellent.
no!
It's a party in the van in the driveway. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
really. Party in the van.
Well, I didn't invite any of the people walking up and down the street, so we're good.
As to me, we can't discuss the phone. We discuss the budget to a certain extent. And then my other thing that was on there was camper manuals, which we touched on. And then senior program is still currently on hold until we're more comfortable getting together in groups.
Celia, do you know what the price was on the phone to keep that? Just curious.
I don't. I found the director's notebook, and I have the passcode to get into it in the voicemail. And for 3 months, it was like $20. So I can look it up though. The
Okay.
1-year contract with TracFone.
Yeah, why don't you, if you could look that up, and then, because that we'll have to know that maybe that'll be the two things that we could look at on the 19th is the TracFone and the budget. So
Yeah. And even if it lapses and we have to change the number, the other expense that goes along with it is a $1 SIM card, because if you let the contract lapse, then you have to get a new SIM card, but they're available at Walmart or Target for $1 or $2. So
yeah, and I wonder if not really going to be using that for a few months here, so I don't know. Maybe.
yeah.
Well, yeah, $1 or $2 for a new SIM card. I think as long as you're really diligent about telling people what the phone number is, I don't think changing the phone number is necessarily a big deal, because it'll be all over all the paperwork in the beginning of camp, whenever that starts, that this is the phone number for this year. Don't call last year's phone number. You don't even write last year's phone number, but you just write, this is the phone number you call. And then people are told. So,
Yeah, I mean, it might not be. I guess probably the price would be more dictate that, right? Because it seems silly
Yeah.
to just to pay for a full year for that. Then
Well, I guess, and when we hire a full-time or a part-time year-round rec director, are they going to have the phone when it's not being used for Camp Raleigh? That's another question.
Well, they'd probably have their own number, right? I would assume at the town. Well, I don't know. That would be my assumption. Right next to Caroline's phone number. So yeah. So besides that, why don't we just find out the number for that, Celia, or find out the price, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, I was just looking at it, and you can buy a phone for X amount of dollars.
So is that what we'd have to buy a new one? Is that how those things work? I don't even know how those work.
We don't necessarily have to buy a new one. We could just buy a SIM card.
Yeah.
But do we want to buy a new one? This was one that we got from a previous committee member who got it from a deceased family member. So how old is the phone? Do we want to consider getting a new one? Is it a worthwhile cause to buy a more efficient, updated phone, or is the one we have meeting our needs?
Well, what is the phone? Is it a flip phone? Is it, or just a really old smartphone? Or, does
I
it
think it's a flip
hold battery
phone.
life? Or is it like, do you need to keep it plugged in constantly?
Oh, it's
So
not a
it's-
flip phone?
It's not a flip phone.
Oh.
It's an Alcatel, Alcatle, and I haven't plugged it in yet to find out the answer to the other question about. But I'm not sure. The only charger I found for it was one that plugs into a computer or a USB port. So we might need a new charger.
Well, no. I mean, if it plugs into a USB, then you put the USB into a plug that plugs into the wall. Yeah.
Right. So I have not but then I have not plugged it in to see how long it holds a charge and how good the battery is. So
In case you don't want my old flip phone, I could donate.
yeah, I have one of those too.
I don't.
I like mine.
I did till the keys fell off.
So how do you make calls?
All right. So besides that, do we have anything else that we could cover here?
No.
I don't think so. Do we
Move to adjourn.
motion to adjourn by David?
Okay.
I'll
You don't even need one because you can't vote on it.
I retract my motion.
You're good. If you want to call it,
Let's talk all night. I'm good for this.
You can call it.
All right. So, well, thanks everybody for your time. Sorry that didn't work out so well for us here.
I think you still accomplished a lot, and good job discussing some things and, getting some things clarified. So I think it was still really worthwhile.
Okay, and then you will let us know, Caroline, I guess, if the board's okay with us handing something in late, I guess.
Hey, worst case, they'll fire us, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So should we send you our budget even though the committee hasn't, or should we hold off? Since
I would hold off because it just confuses things because
Okay.
it's not real until the committee approves it. So that'll, confuse them and having different versions around. So thank you for that, but we'll just wait.
Okay, I will work on the narrative and send it to Kelly when she gets back from vacation, or send it to you, Kelly, and you can review it and edit it. You and
Okay.
David.
All right.
If you really want to
Alright.
confuse me, you make the font the same color as the background, and then we'll be able to see anything.
I'll make sure to do that next time. Have a good
Right.
evening.
I will email. I'll email the committee and especially Mike and let him know that we are meeting on the 19th.
Okay,
All right.
good. All right. Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Thanks. All right. Goodbye.
Have a good night.
Be well.
All right. I don't know how to get out of this thing. Hi, David.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I know it's been a while. So what do I get?
I
what
bike
do
by your house all the time.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. You should stop in, say hi. We just usually are doing all kinds of stuff, but we've been. Hi, Sue. How are you?
Oh, good.
So yeah,
I will get you later. If you want me to work on if I can help you with the spreadsheet, let me know. The town's
Yeah,
got me doing spreadsheets already, so.
Well, it kind of just it prints out weird. So,
I can make it so it prints out. Or I can make it a PDF and they can't mess with it.
well, there we
To
go.
make it harder for them to mess with it.
That sounds good.
Just let me know. You got my number.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you later.
I will.
Bye.
We got people coming. I got to go before they get online.
Okay. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.